Rush Limbaugh, noon till 3 on 1290 WHKY Hickory.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rell on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. I'm talking this morning with Joe Brannick. He's a supporter of the petition that is being circulated by the Citizens for Equity in Government. Billy Sudderth joins us this morning. He is a facilitator for some of the meetings for the Citizens for Equity in Government. Before we went to the break, we've talked about a lot this morning. Hard to recap, but basically what we're talking about is a petition right now that the Citizens for Equity in Government are trying to garner signatures, trying to gather signatures, so that a referendum will be held in the city of Hickory as to whether the ways that city council members are elected are either through a general election process or through a ward system process. Do I have that right, guys?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Mr. Sudderth, before we went to the break, you were telling us about back in about 1970, there was a change in the city government or in the city council. There was an appointee who was made. A doctor, help me with his name again?
Dr. Watts.
Dr. Watts. And tell us that you said there was somebody who was maybe going to come up and possibly challenge him at that time.
Well, at that time we had people who hopefully after Mr. Watts died,
right,
that would be appointed to that seat. I think Catherine Tucker was the lead person at that particular time that probably would have been appointed. But while we were waiting to get for all this to take place, the city council decided to appoint a person to the seat, and they appointed Dr. Watts to that seat.
So there had been a Watts that had passed away,
yes,
and a Watts that had been appointed.
Right.
Okay.
One was white, one was black. Mr. Watts worked for the railroad for years, and he represented that Ward 4.
Now let me ask you this. Suppose someone looks at you and you're out and you're gathering signatures for his position, and they say, you know what, Mr. Sudderth, I like you. I've known you for a number of years. You're a fine fellow, and we get along. But that general election is just fine with me. I don't really see any reason for any change. I like it just the way it is. What do you say to that person?
That means that what they did at that particular time worked. It began to dilute the vote, disenfranchise, get people in a frame of mind whereby they like not being there. To me, that's what took place, because the voters are not showing up at the polls to vote. Okay. And the last couple of elections proves that, especially the last election in November, where only 1,500 people came out to vote for the council seats. Out of 26,000 votes, something has happened. And what we said has happened is people have been disenfranchised, the vote has been diluted, and they've decided to stay away from the polls because they can't get their favorite candidates elected anyway.
And Mr. Brannick, you also had some other points that you wanted to bring up regarding the perception of this and the way that the petition is being perceived in the community.
Well, I mean, some people believe, it's been reported, that this is just an issue of, that's risen up out of the black community based on their frustration. And, it's a shame we're on radio and not over in the television studio, because Hal can attest to the vast difference between Billy and myself.
Well, I know a little bit about both of you, and there are some differences there.
There are some differences.
Right, there are some differences, and I believe that you said this, you go ahead and describe conservative Republican.
Young, white, conservative Republican. My friend Billy here.
A little bit older. We'll say older.
Slightly
Democrat.
Progressive Democrat.
Progressive Democrat.
But both of you are on the same page on this particular issue.
On this particular issue, this is a local issue. And I think, if you want to apply labels at the national level or the state level, go ahead and do it. And it's fun to do. And we can beat each other about the head, on those issues. This is a local issue. And I think when we're dealing at this level, nobody wins when you apply those labels. And if we can cast off the labels and we can just look at the issue as it is, two guys like this can come together and agree on something and, move something forward.
327 WHKY 327-9459. The phone lines are open. If you have any comments or questions of our guests this morning, please let us know. What type of opposition are you hearing to this? What is the opposition? Because everything I'm hearing this morning sounds like, other than maybe some perceptions of the reporting, sounds like everything's going as planned. If you get the signatures on the petition, then the city council will take this to a referendum. Mm-hmm. So basically what you wanted to do this morning was try to let people know about what the petition is regarding. Right. But what are you hearing?
It's all about education.
Okay.
It's purely about education.
Gotcha.
And we're extremely grateful. This is probably one of the most one of the easiest ways to get out to the people of Hickory, and it's a comfortable way too, and it hasn't been reported on accurately in the newspaper for whatever reason it is. But and I was asked personally by an individual that asked to sign the petition, has anybody that has signed the petition experienced any backlash?
Right.
I hope nobody has.
Right.
I answered, I told him no.
Right.
And I think if you sign the petition, only the numbers are made public. The actual names on the petition, the Board of Elections isn't going to release. But it's a lot of people don't know about the petition. A lot of people have a misunderstanding on, well, if I sign the petition and the petition passes, is the change made? No. This is strictly about allowing people to choose.
Okay.
And like I said, people have signed the petition. They've told me, the system we have now works. It works for me, but I'm going to sign the petition anyway.
Gotcha.
Because people do have a right to choose. And anytime you can bring a decision closer to the people that it directly affects,
sure,
everybody wins.
It's called democracy at the local level. That's what we're after. We're after a democratic process of electing officials to ensure that we all have representation on city council and we have equal power in what takes place in our communities.
And in 1967, if you go back to the city council minutes and you look at the actual vote and how the vote was recorded, the decision to change from an at-large system or from a ward system to an at-large system was made by 4 people. 4 people in this city decided this is what we need, this is the best for us, and we want it. And the decision was made, and the citizens were basically shut out of the process.
And one thing that you brought up during the break that I'd like you to bring up and give to us on the air, if you would, because I think this kind of gives us a nice finishing note, if you will, sure, is that the fact that, in your opinion, this is about wards and elections and not about black and white, because you say you've got young people coming back who might want to seek election on the city council, and you feel that the ward, this is your opinion, I believe, if I'm getting this right.
Strictly my opinion.
Your opinion on the ward is that this is a great way for them to be able to enter into the political system without a tremendous amount of cash expenditure and without having to campaign throughout the general populace, but be able to get that through the ward. Now, do I have that right, or did I make a mistake there?
No, I think you're dead on. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the advantages. Another advantage is, the cost. I graduated in 1994. I'm 35 years old. A lot of my friends are moving back to Hickory to raise their families. They would like to get involved civically. They'd like to get involved, with local government. And there doesn't seem to be an entry point into that pipeline of service. Now, for the simple fact, they have been away. They are known in their neighborhoods. They're known in their wards. They're not known citywide. Okay. And it's and even for older people that have moved here and retired here, that have been active elsewhere, and have that history of activism, they need a pipeline. They need an entry into the pipeline to get into. And it's intimidating to come to Hickory or anywhere and have to run in a citywide election.
Gotcha. You have people my age who moved back and want to be involved in the political process and nothing but to try to vote for a person of their choice. Right. And they are finding that it can't be done. Some have decided not to be involved. A couple of us have decided to go back to our activist days and be involved and try to get the democratic process of electing officials where we can be proud that the city did make a change. But from where I am now and where I was as a young boy, it did not change.
So the main thing, before we wrap up, because I want to make sure the main thing that you're asking is that people be aware of what the petition means. Right. It's not for the ward to the general election. It's for the opportunity for a referendum on the ballot that the city of Hickory can determine whether they want the ward system or whether they want a general election. That's what the petition is about. It's not about changing it. It only gives the opportunity. It's about the choice to change.
It's about choosing to give the people a choice.
Before we wrap up, anything else this morning? I want to make sure we do a good job for you, because we're proud of what we do around here on letting all sides be heard.
Let me just make one point, too.
You got less than 30 seconds. Can you do it? Do you need to come back?
Let's come back.
All right, more First Talk right after this.
Hey, it's...